And record. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Journey of Self Mastery in our Self Mastery Fridays. You know, every morning I try to warm you guys up a little bit with a little warm up music, get the blood flowing. You may have just rolled out of bed, you may have just come out the shower. Either way, if you came out in silence, it's time for a little noise. It's time for a little high vibe. We can all use it right now. So it's all about the high vibe morning and just getting a little blood flowing. So, Sabine, join me in a little bit of love for our people.
Yes, I love it. I love it. This is how I love to start my day.
Nice little warm up.
That is awesome to have a dance partner like at 8:30 in the morning.
Right? It's good to get the
Yeah,
blood flowing, get your
exactly.
motion, get that energy moving in all the right directions.
Mm-mm-mm.
Feel the goodness of life. Remove all the heavy burdens, whatever was there yesterday. Swipe it away. Starting anew. We're talking about pursuing passion this morning.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Woo! All right. Thank you for joining me in that beautiful warm up. And good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, whatever time in which you come to this journey and journey with us in the self mastery of pursuing your passion. So, this morning we have the beautiful opportunity of sharing the moment with the beautiful Sabine. So, Sabine, would you like to share with everyone who you are and really just where you are now?
All right. Well, this is a loaded question, but let me put it so that we are getting it done before the hour is over. No, I'm just kidding. Well, again, my name is Sabine, or sometimes you may hear me call myself Sabine because this is a German name, or at least I am German. It was given to me by my mother. I was born and grew up in Hamburg, Germany. So that is my background, and I lived there for the first half of my existence on this planet, and then the second half, almost, here in the United States. And this is basically where I started out, and this is where I am now. And everything in between is filled with a very exciting journey. Always on the forefront for me is pursuing my passion and learning more about who I am as person, and most importantly, what the purpose is for my life. And it's so interesting because from the day I can, go back to, I always had that question, even as a young child. Why am I here? What is this all? And that question drove me my entire life. And that helped me really finding out who I am and what mine is to do.
That's beautiful. And really, just to share a little more interesting elements about you, what was life like growing up in Germany?
Well, um, it was really interesting. So I grew up after Second World War. Even it seems like so far away, and it has, been almost 15 years after the Second World War ended. But when, as you know, uh, it takes a while to rebuild something if something is broken, and that city was demolished. So this was an interesting time to grow up in because there was a rebuild, a renewing. And I felt, even though I was I was born in a lower middle class family. I lost my dad when I was just 3 years old and was left with my mom and my 6-year older sister. And it felt, I don't have so much memory, but it felt at any point I had everything that I ever needed or wanted. And even though growing up in that area that there was not a lot, I always felt, and my mother always made me feel that we had everything. So I'm so grateful for her. Rest in peace, mama. But she always gave me that feeling. So with that said, there was a lot of opportunity, and obviously the culture in Europe is different than here in the United States. So that was a very interesting fact. But with that said, I had a great childhood, did a lot of traveling, and always was playful and was always pursuing what I loved. The child play, we luckily had that a lot versus nowadays where everything is online, right? So I think that was a very important part of upbringing. And I also believe today it is a very important part for the children to explore play, because through play and exploration is really where we can find our passion and where we can find what we're good at. And so that was my upbringing in Germany.
That's beautiful. It sounds like, from what you're saying, that it was truly that element. Well, there were a couple of things in there in what you've highlighted, a couple of gems that, although you were in a space of scarcity and in a time of scarcity, the way in which your mom fueled your life with, really, here's what you can have versus focusing on what you can't or what you don't, also helped fuel you in your play, right? Like when it came to you being more creative and being in that space of really looking at life differently and starting to be in your imaginary spaces, because that's really where we tend to be as children, that it really helped you to flourish, and her feeding that space.
Absolutely. And when I think back to that time, especially lately when I'm working with clients and going through the process of finding your passion and finding your way, I often think back of my childhood. And one of the things very interesting that I found, I always loved to sing and dance and entertain. I was the entertainer in the house. And and it's very good. It's like through play. I also played teacher a lot. So with my dolls and everything, I was the teacher, and I truly enjoyed it. That was my bliss. So fast forward a little bit. This is the childhood experience, right? But now you get into your young adulthood, or teenage, that weird time where you really don't know who you are, what you are, and you lose a lot of that play, and you are being put into many different categories, and you want to fit in with your peers. So you're losing this a little bit. And when it came to the point that I had to make a decision what to do with the rest of my life, all right, so talking about what profession do you go into, I had no idea. When I had to make that decision, I was 16, 17, basically. And so I listened to the well-meant advice of my dad, who said, Sabine, find a job with benefits and a good salary so you can pay your bills and have something left over to pursue your hobbies. Sounded good to me at that time, and I did. You see, this is how we grew up, and this is what my family always used to do. Work 40 years and get retirement and die. Okay, that's roughly, right? So I did, and believe it or not, I started my career. I got a associate in business and ended up working as a claim adjuster for an insurance company. Now, you know my background a little bit, what I'm doing now, but for me, uh, being this creative, outgoing person, you know, after the honeymoon period was over, when, yeah, you know, you make money, you feel good about yourself, you're a young adult, you go out, you can spend money, what you earn. Then when that stopped and reality kicked in, that's when I was like, whoa, stop, Sabina, what are you doing here? And Patricia, I still remember that pivotal moment in my life that changed everything. Would you like to hear it?
I would, but before you go there, I think it's actually pivotal that we take one step back because I think there are some key distinctions, some key things that you highlighted that would be extremely helpful for our viewers. Because for those who are going through this journey of really trying to identify their passions, and for those who are trying to identify what it is that they want to pursue, I'm looking at some of the key things that you highlighted in really just that moment in time where you transitioned from this playful, creative nature of seeking and living in opportunities to dealing with that one very big question that we all tend to face in the transition of young adult to adult, which is what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Right? Like
Yeah.
that major question that ends up landing and landing so heavily on so many people. And so I really want to ask you when that transition happened, when the question came, what was the challenge within?
Well, I believe it is a combination of different things. Number one, when we come into that transition phase to become a teenager, then different aspects of the human body kicks in. So you're starting thinking along different lines. All of a sudden, there is, the fact that boys come into play, and you are in high school, and now you have to make sure that you look good, that you not making quote unquote a fool of yourself. So you start stepping back, thinking, how can I fit in? Because when I was in my childhood time, I never fit in, because every time in my reports cards, the teacher said, "Oh, Sabina needs to be more concentrated. She needs to be more this. She needs to be more that." You know, it's really starting pressing yourself down on that expression of creativity. But then when you are with your peers, you want it to be just like them, and you want to make sure that you don't say anything that is out of the ordinary, and you make adjustment in that way. And when you do this, your your creative expression are being pushed down out of the way. And then you start thinking and listening more to your parents, teachers, everybody who is in your eyes a role model. What do they say? What does society tells you? Oh, this is the way it has to be. So your conscious minds are thinking, okay, that's what I have to do. And you forget the essence of who you are. And we all go through there, Patricia. Every single one. At one point or another, some more severe than others. We go through that time that we forget the true potential that is within us, and the gifts and talents that have been given to us by our creator. I truly believe that, for a purpose. And so for many people, it takes a lifetime even to go back to that and discover that.
Yeah, and for some people, it's kind of walking through life in those same stages without those circles. Like right now, most people, especially when it comes to youth transitioning into adults, they are dealing with social media. And everything is filled within that space. For the most part, when it comes to your parents and when it comes to teachers, they are all about instilling a new perspective, right? And ensuring that your voice comes out. But when you are dealing with media and social media, everything that comes out is speaking to you about coming into what is known as the norm, right? Coming into the mold. And so I love the fact that you made the highlight of taking your speech and the person that you are moving, and you're moving it from extraordinary to ordinary, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you had these extraordinary thoughts, these extraordinary experiences, these extraordinary highlights within your mind, within your heart, within your soul, and you've kind of come to a position of downplaying them so that they can fit into this box of what you're seeing socially and what works within the circles that you blend in with. It's an
That's right.
it's a very interesting journey and space. It made me think about myself and where I was at the time in my transitions. I was a bit of an oddball as well. When it came to
That's why we connect so well, right?
exactly. So it definitely made me think about that space and my transitions and really just navigating that. But I'm so glad that you highlighted the challenge and walked through that with me, because I think it's important for people to really pay attention to what's happening behind the scenes of their minds, right? We capture these memories and these stories that create little pockets or cages within us. And we fail to realize how these cages are, they compile. And that if we don't take a look and come back to them, then we can't open their gates in order to be free and move forward in the way that you have.
That's right.
It's beautiful. So, when you were transitioning through the challenge and awakening to something more, what were the first steps for you after coming to the realization that you wanted extraordinary?
Um, I think what it was for me is, first of all, awareness. That's where it starts. That you are aware of your situation and aware of your feelings. For me, it was being in this office, sitting there and not feeling good about myself. I gained weight. I didn't feel good. And then it struck me one day, sitting at my desk, staring out of the window. And I will never forget that feeling, because that was a pivotal moment, one of the pivotal moments in my life, but one very important one, because it led me where I am today. Um, so I was staring out of the window and thinking to myself, this cannot be it. I cannot do this for the next 40 years. And when I had that vision to doing the same thing over and over that I don't like, only to make a paycheck for 40 years until retirement, that's how we grew up, right? I immediately asked the question, what is mine to do? And that is important. Whenever you come to a point where you don't know, or you feel this is not right for you, always ask the question, something like this: what is mine to do? What is the next step? And so forth. So when I ask this question, obviously, sometimes answers can pop in right away, and sometimes it takes a while. But for me, it came that same week. And I truly believe that when you put this out into the universe answers. And it came through a chance meeting with my former drama and music teacher, Mr. Herbst. And we had a short conversation. And then he asked me if I was still doing my acting groups, if I still was active with my singing. I had a duo, I had a group, if I do anything of that anymore. And I said, no. And then he said this one thing that literally woke me up. And he said this one sentence. He said, Sabine, you are so, he said, Sabine, what a shame. You are so talented. Bam, that woke me up, literally. And I thought he was right.
Mm.
And that was the pivotal moment where I started to take action. Listen to this word, Patricia. You got to move and take action. Just the realization alone is not enough.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'd love for you to talk through that a little bit as to really thinking through that. I mean, was that something for you that upon the epiphany that action was immediately important, or was it what do I do next and then it was action that came? Like what did you see that were the steps in that stage?
All right. So I said, yes, he is right. So, what do I need to do in order to pursue my passion, which is acting, singing, dancing, the entertainment industry? When I was a kid and there was a musical on TV, I mean, I was there and dancing and I became all the characters. So that's what I love to do. So what I did, I went home and I opened up the yellow pages. And yes, this is dating me a little bit, but that's the best we had. There was no such thing as Google, so we had to do it the hard way. So I opened up the book and looked up acting schools. All right. And I found one acting school. I called and scheduled an appointment to come in. And I still remember that. I went there, it was a private school. And so I talked with um, the head, the owner of that school. Margot Höpfner is her name, or was her name. And then, you know, how interesting the universe conspires and makes you help a little bit. So I was sitting in her office, and then there was a picture of a one of her former students, Angelika Milster. It's so funny. I still remember the name. It's like 50 years ago. No, I'm kidding. Not quite as, as one. But Angelika Milster went through her school. She became a German musical superstar back then because she was the first German Grisabella. And she also was one of the students of Mr. Herbst's class, and she was in his choir that inspired me to start the second choir he started. So all of this came together, and I saw that, and I made a decision right there and then. This is where I need to be. And then I scheduled my audition. The thing is too, and I hope your listeners will understand that you don't need to know the how.
Yeah.
You just need to know your why and what you're passionate about and what you want to do, what your what is this? No, not sure. The, I forgot this English word. Yearnings. Here we go. The yearnings are right. So I did not know how to audition.
And by the way, I
Yeah,
just want to quickly highlight this is exactly why I wanted you to highlight what happens with prior to the thought of action, right? Where it's like what's going on in the mind as to I just got to do something. Like
yeah,
I got to do something Because a lot of people hear action and they're going, oh my gosh, what list do I need to come up with? What are the steps? How do I do it? What is this plan? What is, right? And they're thinking through action means I need to have a full on plan in order to do something. And that's not it. A plan is
No,
required.
no, that in many cases it will stop people to do it. So don't create a plan yet.
Yeah.
Eventually there is some planning that you have to do in your life for certain to achieve certain things, and I go through that as well in my book, Unlock Your Full Potential. But for that stage, what you have to do is just go with your guts, and that's what I did. So I knew I had to say something. I had to speak. I have to do a monologue. So what I did is I looked up a little booklet that we read in school. It was a play that we read in school. Der Inspektor kommt means it has something to do with the crime scene, and there was a detective. And I was looking, okay, what can I say? So I looked up the biggest paragraph that I could find. Okay. And that was the detective, the male role. So I memorized that. And I even did one more thing. So I said, okay, how can I do this? Because I didn't know how to create a monologue, even out of a dialogue. So I took a little of everything. So I had a hat I put on. So I went at this side and said, okay, I'm here, ma'am. You called me because you have to solve this problem, this crime. And then I went, oh yes, Inspector, yes, this is what I did, and please help me there. And so I did this back and forth, and I mean, it must have been so hilarious. But long story short, I was accepted because they saw my talent, right? So if the notion is there, your passion, your talent, and you take the action, whatever it is, the how will show up. You will just do just fine. And then that's the first step. But then you do have to learn the skills.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to do one more thing, Patricia.
Please.
And I think many of your viewers can relate to it, or perhaps experienced it as well.
Mm.
We have a lot of naysayers in our lives.
Too many.
And so did I, believe me. I call it the dream stealers. All right.
I love
And yeah, so
dream
when at
killers.
that time, I actually was engaged when I went through that whole period there of changing my profession. So the first thing I had to do is go to my fiance, telling him that I want to do the school for 3 years. I want to quit my job. And then my parents. Now, and this is what happens. Your loved ones, your family, your friends, they most of the time give you advice for two reasons. Number one, they truly want to protect you to possibly be disappointed. Number two, they see you may go ahead and move ahead of them, and that puts them behind, and all of a sudden they're not where you are, so they want to pull you back to where they are, want to pull you back down. So those are the two reasons. So when I told my family, this is what I want to do, this is my dream, they said, oh, Sabine, don't do this. This is not a good profession, all the scandals, and and then it's a starving profession, you will never make money, and and so on and so on. So this is what my answer was. I thought, and I was a little bit pulled back to where they were. All right. But I didn't want to go all the way back. So I said, okay, I'm going to do a compromise. They have a program. It's kind of a half education. This like intro program. I'm going to start out with this and see if this is really what I wanted to do. And then everybody says, okay. I was in there for 2 weeks, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I enrolled in the whole program and I did it. And I said, I'm going to do it myself. I will finance it myself. I keep my job and I do it in the afternoons and evenings. And I did this for 3 years, working every evening. I got up early in the morning, 6 o'clock, got to work at 7, finished at 3 at work, then went to school, then studied for school. I did this Monday through Friday and then Saturday mornings. And I did this for 3 years. But this was a passion. This is what I love to do. But here's the interesting part, Patricia. After 2 years working as a stage actress, I landed a role on TV for a TV series. And we only filmed for 6 weeks over the summer. But during that time, I made more money than I did working as a claim adjuster the whole year. You see, when you do something that you love and you work for it, so you have the skills, perfect the skills, and work and work and work, the money will follow.
Indeed. I Before I dig into that, I just want to make sure everyone out there, the chat room is open. So please, if you have any questions for Sabine, please go ahead and type them in there and I will read them out to her so that she can address your questions. So please feel free to come into the dialogue and have the conversation with us. I love the fact that you highlighted that because when it comes to the pursuit, so many people out there are really just expressing the beauty of the pursuit, right? Like everyone just talks about the beauty of the pursuit. I woke up one day, oh my goodness, had the struggle, woke up out of the struggle, got up and decided to do things differently, got out there, spoke to a few people, made a couple of connections, and ta-da, I arrived, right? Like, it's like, no, there are tons of steps in between. But what people fail to see, which is what I love that you're highlighting in what you said, is that there is a becoming that happens through the process. When you're dealing with the rigor of the challenge, it is building your emotional muscle, your mental muscle, your spiritual muscle, right? It is building the person inside of you to come out and have a different stance upon your arrival of where you need to be. So when you get there, you truly are embodying that person. No imposter syndrome. You fully are that person. You've put in the work, you've put in the time, you've made the investment in yourself to truly be able to arrive at a higher value of who you are.
Correct.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's good that you brought this out and summarized it that way, because I think for a lot of people, they see the successful people in front of them and immediately they think, I can't do it. Or they think, well, they had ABC, they had the right parents, the right background, the money, the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
The matter of fact is, the more, sometimes I feel the more you have to struggle and work through it, the more successful you become. And in my case, I had no background in my family, no theater background or whatnot. There was not a lot of money that they could give and invest into me, although my mom did the best what she could. And but the thing is, you are the master of your life. No one else is. You are. I am. We are. And it is up to you, your responsibility to take charge. And this is what many people miss. They don't take responsibility. They think or say, oh, it's my parents' fault, or it's my boss's fault, oh, it's the economy. But the thing is, if you put the blame in this case of someone else or something else, you give your power away. Because when you do this, then you have to wait for someone else to fix it. Yes. But the moment you step in your true strength, and in the moment you take 100% responsibility of your life, despite the circumstances we all have circumstances. Some of them are the same, as we know right in this very moment as we speak. We have the same circumstances, but how you respond to it makes the difference in the world.
And can you tell us what responsibility would look like?
Responsibility, what does it look like? Well, there's two things, maybe three. Let me go through it.
Yeah.
Number one, responsibility is, and that's the first thing, it's for yourself to truly discover and uncover who you truly are, not the role that you are playing, because we all play different roles.
Indeed.
But through our upbringing and through the growing that we are doing, we discover more and more there is more than just this body, this person, or this role that I'm playing. There is what I call my higher self. Okay, there's that God spark that is within each one of us, or the universal intelligence, or whatever you want to call it. It has nothing to do with religion, to be very clear, but I truly believe that each one of us has a higher self, and that higher self has the responsibility to do in this lifetime that we have what can leave footprints behind for someone else. And it doesn't have to be huge, like, writing a book, or being a movie star, or being the president, or whatever it may be. It has to be something, it can be just as small that you've never been, quote unquote, officially recognized. Maybe you are a caretaker, or you adopt children, or whatever it may be. You made a big footprint in that because that's who you are. Your higher self really asks you to do. But that's the first thing, right? To yourself, the responsibility to use your gifts and talents appropriately and make a positive difference in the world. Number two is to, on that journey, to stay in integrity and do it without hurting someone else consciously. Of course, we all have hurt somebody at one point because we are human beings, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
being mindful of your intentions.
Exactly. But that's it. With mindful intention, you do the things not to, what's the right word, to further yourself, or,
Not for
make
selfish.
your, exactly. I'm going to be rich and famous, and I'm bulldozing my way through this world in order to receive it, and in order to get it. And I don't care if I do this and if I do that.
Hmm.
By the way, in the entertainment industry, we often can see that because it's a very fierce competition. And I've seen it, I experienced it too, where you all of a sudden get stabbed in the back. However, me being in the entertainment industry for 10 years before I started my own business, I was the light. And at the beginning, I didn't know it consciously, but towards the end, I did. I was the light in this industry, and I showed people that you don't have to do it. There is enough for everybody. So I believe this is the responsibility that you have for yourself and for others along the way.
I find that to be really beautiful. And I want to actually dig into the layers a little bit because you brought out some really beautiful elements. One is in really looking at the word responsibility, I love how it can be broken down like the word impossible. A lot of people look at the word impossible and they're going, oh my gosh, it's such a huge word with such a huge meaning. But look at the word itself and break it. It means I'm possible.
I love it.
So Audrey Hepburn is the one who started that in having people see the true essence in words, especially big ones or ones that have huge impacts on the mind and the heart. And recently, I've seen the word responsible being identified as response able,
Mhm.
simply
Yeah.
having the ability to respond. So it's not being caught or trapped in a moment and in your mind to think of yourself as having the inability to respond, but simply going, I'm able to respond. And that, in and of itself, is enough, all by itself. I have the ability to respond, so I'll use it. It's a power that I'll use. The other element of what you highlighted that I love is not allowing yourself to be trapped by a title. So many of us have these titles. I've you have the title of woman, you have the title of daughter, you have the title of leader, you have the title of influencer, you have the title of artist, of creator, of actor, right? All of these titles. But when it comes down to it, the real question is, who am I to me?
Yes.
The essence, the truth, the foundation of it all comes down to that. So instead of getting caught up in the noise and in the busyness and in the triggering fear of what words may mean, I love the beauty of what you just walked through because it's truly having people come back to hone in on, does this word really mean what you think it means? Like, let's just break that down a little and really start to look at it for its essence and what it's
Mhm.
presenting to you. And instead of giving yourself a title to walk through this moment to try to figure out your pursuit or come into your passion, how about you remove all the titles and come back to the basic essence of who am I to me?
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. And when you go and have that question again and again, you automatically will find that higher self that resides within you.
Absolutely. 100%. And it's the whole thing of really just coming back down to those basics cuz the
Hmm.
beauty of your journey and what you've walked us through, which I'm so grateful for you being here and walking us through it because right now there's this incredible heaviness in our world society, right? When it comes to the human collective, there's this heaviness. And lots of people are dealing with really just a lot of things that they're trying to figure out who they want to be right now, trying to figure out society right now, trying to figure out the ways of the world right now. Like it's a laundry list of things with question marks where I think it's so important that everyone just comes back to the question mark should be with you. Like, you. Who are you? And what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? What are the steps you are going to take? Because everyone is so busy digging into what everybody else is doing or what
Hmm.
everyone else is not doing that they can't really take, or they're not truly or fully seeing the opportunity within this moment to truly blossom and used 2020 as the year where everything changed for the better.
Yes. And you are so right, because we have a choice right now in this very moment. We can either see ourselves as a victim and see ourselves, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever happened. And with that said, yes, it is a tragedy, and COVID-19 is real, and we have to respond responsibly to that. But at the same time, if you take a look and say, and I always look for the silver lining of every situation that I am in life. And if you look at it and say, what, first of all, does this teach us? What can we learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
And what can I do to take this and be of even greater service to others, and then of course to myself as well? Because there's a saying, if you help enough people what they want, you will get what you want. And so in this situation with 2020, there is an upside to lockdown.
Yeah.
And we discussed that already, and I
Yeah.
don't want to take anything ahead, but for
No,
your
please.
listeners.
Sabine and I
Yeah,
have been talking about the upside of lockdown for quite a while, so I love the fact that she's brought this in.
okay, good. Yes. Yeah, we really both were talking about that for a while. And so with our combined knowledge and our combined experiences, we thought it would be a wonderful idea to share this with the rest of the world.
Mhm.
Now, talking about the upside, it is literally possible to do an event that, or a workshop that you used to do in your area, or even if people have to fly in, if you do one. I live in Florida, so Orlando is a big convention city. So, and I flew to Orlando many of times, even when I lived in Virginia. But now the upside with our virtual world is you can reach more people. And so what we decided that we wanted to do is to really put something together that can help others to really see the upside of the lockdown. And I know we will, and I'm sure, Patricia, you will share it with your viewers as well once we have everything set. But we talked about doing a challenge. I love challenges because that helps us grow. So, what is a challenge? A challenge is something that you participate in, and you will learn, you will grow. And sometimes what you will learn is maybe a little bit challenging for you. But once you take one step towards it with the guidance of the facilitators of the challenge, in this case, it would be Patricia and myself, and we encourage you to take that one step that will help you go to the next step, because this is what it takes whenever you want to make a change in anything of your life. There are different stepping stones. It's not going from here to there at once. No, there are stepping stones in between. And when you take little steps, it isn't that hard.
Yeah.
It isn't that hard. So, and so this is basically what we are planning on doing, this challenge. And we definitely keep you posted. But I'm very excited about just the fact that we, with our combined experiences, are able to perhaps help you get out of maybe the funk that you're in right now because of that situation, see the upside of it. Or perhaps you are already saying, yes, there's something I need to do. I feel this, and you are in this situation like, oh yeah, let me do it, but I don't know. But this will maybe just kick you over the edge there. So I'm very excited about that challenge that we're planning to do.
Yeah, so am I because the beauty about challenges is that it also allows you to be very playful. Like that's the whole thing of a challenge, right? Like it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to play differently, to get into this space in a different way, to become a creative in your own space in a very different way. It gives you the opportunity to look at your life differently, to begin to look and see where the opportunities lie in the midst of life's challenges. So it's a beautiful space of, huh, this is a different perspective. This is a different view. This is a different play on things. And as a result, you end up growing exponentially and you actually end up blossoming into a place of beauty. So that is why, or part of why, Sabine and I have decided to come together. Because the other part of that dialogue and that conversation was really about why I created this channel. And it's looking at everyone out there that I see, that I know, that I've witnessed, that is struggling in some way right now.
Mm.
And it's how do we be of service? How is it that everything that I may be growing through, that Sabine is growing through, that we are learning from, that we have access to, that maybe others don't, and really just trying to find a way to say, here are all the gifts, here are all the learnings, here are all the beautiful spaces of insight and education that we can now share with you. So I hope that you truly do join us for this challenge because it is bound to be one that you will never forget. 2020 does not have to be a year of regret. It can be a year full of that was the moment. That was when
Yes.
everything changed for the better.
This is the moment. This is the time. Jacqueline Heights. I had to.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Sabine,
Yeah.
thank you so very much for coming and spending the time with us this morning. This has been a true pleasure, and you have provided so many beautiful gems of insight. I've been trying to pay attention to the chat. I didn't see anyone commenting there, but you guys feel free to go ahead and comment on this video as well. I pay attention to the comments and anything that you have there. Even if it's a question for Sabine, I will be sure to connect her with your comments so that she can respond as well. So feel free to go ahead and let us know your thoughts, your insights, and if you're going to join us for the challenge. I think it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So it's going to actually happen in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. Next Friday, we will have more details on that.
And here is one thing that I would like to suggest to you, beautiful Patricia,
Yes.
because since we are doing the challenge together and you interviewed me and I was able to share with your viewers my experience, who I am, I think you always interview wonderful people here. But how about I interview you next week?
Well, it's my honor. That sounds awesome. All right, you
Uh,
guys. Next
see,
Friday, you've got me.
I always there for surprises.
You are. It's the fun stuff.
But you know what? This is my favorite coffee pot, and I love it because it always reminds me on something. Because there's a saying. It says, "Live boldly, take risks, make somebody say, 'What the heck was this all about?'"
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Happy Friday, lovies. I truly, truly wish you a beautiful weekend. And if it can't be one full of beauty and grace, with you stepping out into the world and really just putting your feet into the grass and taking the note of nature, then let it be one filled with peace where you just take a moment with hands on heart, breathe in and out a couple of times, and just think to the goodness and the beauty of the world. Just putting that energy out there will make a reverberated impact in the space that you live in and in the human collective. I will join you in that love, and we will see you soon. But until then, take care of you. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Sabine.